You are useless. Who do you think will believe you? Stay exactly where I put you. On the night Pastor Michael lifted his hand again, even the walls of the parsonage began to shake. Liora did not scream. She had learned long ago that screaming only made it worse. The slap landed first sharp, sudden, ringing like a cracked bell in her ears. Her head snapped to the side, and the taste of blood filled her mouth. She staggered back, her bare feet slipping on the cold tiled floor. Look at you, Pastor Michael growled, his voice low and furious. So stubborn. So disrespectful. He grabbed her arm. Liora's thin nightgown tore slightly at the shoulder as he dragged her back toward the bedroom. From the next room, two small voices whispered. Mummy. The word sliced through her heart sharper than the slap. Go back to sleep, Michael barked toward the door without turning. Your mother is being corrected. Corrected. That was the word he always used. Liora fell to her knees. Not because she wanted to, but because her body had learned the language of fear. She raised her trembling hands, not to block the blows, but to pray. God, she whispered, tears soaking the floor. Please, not tonight. The beating did not stop. They called him Pastor Michael Adebayo. A man of power. A man of scripture. A man whose hands healed the sick every Sunday. Yet those same hands broke his wife every night. When it was over, Michael stood above her, breathing hard. You push me to this, he said, adjusting his collar like he had just finished a sermon. A foolish woman provokes her husband. Liora lay curled on the floor. Her cheek was swelling. Her ribs burned. Her spirit felt crushed. Michael stepped over her body and walked away. Minutes later, she heard him praying loudly in the living room. Father Lord, remove the spirit of rebellion from my home. Liora laughed softly. A broken, empty laugh. Then she cried. Silently. Because crying loudly had consequences. Later that night, when the house was quiet, the bedroom door creaked open. Two little girls tiptoed in. Mara, 6 years old, held her sister's hand tightly. Kimi, 4, clutched a small teddy bear with one eye missing. Mummy, Mara whispered. Liora forced herself to sit up, even as pain screamed through her body. I'm here, she said softly, opening her arms. They crawled onto the bed and pressed against her. Mummy, Kimi asked innocently. Why does Daddy shout when he prays? Liora swallowed hard. Because how do you explain hypocrisy to a child? Talking loudly to God, she said finally. Mara touched her mother's bruised cheek. Does God hear you too? She asked. Liora closed her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Yes, my love. He hears me. But deep down, doubt crept in like a shadow. Because she had been praying for years. By morning, Liora looked perfect. Makeup carefully applied. Long sleeves hiding fingerprints. A soft smile practiced in the mirror. The mirror did not lie, but she did. She always did. At church, women whispered in admiration. Pastor's wife is so gentle. So quiet. So blessed. They didn't know that quiet was survival. Pastor Michael held her hand during service. He squeezed it once. Hard. A warning. Then he stepped up to the pulpit. Marriage, he preached passionately, is about submission and obedience. The congregation nodded. Liora lowered her eyes. Every word felt like another slap. Once upon a time, Liora believed God had answered her prayers. She was 22. Beautiful. Shy. Raised to believe a woman's glory was obedience. When Pastor Michael noticed her in church, everyone celebrated. A man of God has chosen you, her aunt said. You are favored. He was charming then. Soft-spoken. Scripture always on his lips. On their wedding night, he prayed for 2 hours. She thought that meant she was safe. The first slap came 3 months later. He cried afterward. Quoted the Bible. Promised it would never happen again. It always happened again. Over time, Liora stopped visiting friends. Michael said they were bad influences. She stopped calling her family. Michael said they disrespected his calling. She stopped talking. Because talking made him angry. The church became her cage. And the parsonage. Her prison. One Sunday evening, after service, a young woman named Sister Naomi stayed behind. She hesitated before speaking. "Mummy Liora," she whispered. "Are you okay?" Liora froze. "Why do you ask?" she replied calmly. Naomi lowered her voice. "I heard shouting last night." Liora smiled gently. "Oh," she said. "Pastors pray loudly." Naomi did not smile back. But she said nothing more. Seeds had been planted. That same night, Michael beat her again. Harder than usual. This time, Mara saw everything. The child screamed. That scream pierced something deep inside Lyra's soul. As she lay on the floor, gasping for breath, she realized something terrifying. Her daughters were learning that love looks like pain. And that realization was more painful than any slap. That night, as Liora held her daughters and whispered prayers into their hair, she made a silent promise. She did not know how. She did not know when. But she knew this. The church would hear her story. The God they preached about would testify. And the man they called holy would fall. Because even walls that cannot speak. Remember everything, there is a special kind of cruelty that hides behind holy words. Pastor Michael did not beat Liora every day. That was how he survived. Some days, he used his hands. Other days, he used the Bible. Every morning at 5 a.m., Pastor Michael rang a small brass bell. "Family altar," he called. Liora rose from bed slowly, wincing as she wrapped a scarf tighter around her ribs. The girls knelt beside her. Michael opened his Bible. "Wives," he read loudly, "submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord." His eyes locked on Liora. "Read it again," he commanded. Her voice trembled. "Wives, submit yourselves." Louder. She swallowed and obeyed. When she finished, Michael smiled. "You see," he said calmly, "your suffering is obedience. Your silence is faith." Liora nodded. Because nodding kept the peace. He never preached love at home. Only control. Mara stopped laughing. She flinched at loud voices. She began correcting her sister. "Don't talk back," she whispered to Kimi one night. "Daddy doesn't like that." Liora heard it. And something inside her cracked. Her child was becoming her. At church, Pastor Michael was a different man. He hugged widows. Paid school fees for orphans. Laid hands on the sick. People cried during his sermons. Such a humble man, the elders said. A pastor with a gentle spirit. Liora sat beside him, smiling. Her jaw ached from holding the lie in place. One afternoon, Liora dared to speak. "Michael," she said quietly, "the girls are afraid." He looked up slowly. "Afraid of what?" "Of us." The room went cold. "Careful," he warned. "Do you want to destroy my ministry?" Her heart pounded. "I just want peace." He laughed. "You already have peace. You just don't appreciate it." Then his hand landed. Not hard. Calculated. A reminder. Michael announced church counseling sessions for couples. The irony was cruel. Women came to Liora privately. "Mummy, my husband beats me. Mummy, he cheats. Mummy, I want to leave." Liora listened. She prayed with them. She hugged them. Then she went home and bled in silence. That night, she locked herself in the bathroom and sobbed into a towel so the girls wouldn't hear. "God," she whispered, "am I your servant, or your sacrifice?" It happened on a Wednesday night. Michael forgot to lock the door. The beating was louder than usual. This time, Liora cried out. And this time, someone heard. Sister Naomi. She stood frozen in the corridor, hand over her mouth. She saw Michael raise his fist again. She saw Liora shielding her face. Their eyes met. Michael turned slowly. Naomi ran. The next Sunday, Pastor Michael preached on false accusations. Even men of God, he said dramatically, are not spared from the lies of the enemy. Liora knew. Naomi had spoken to someone. Michael gripped Lyora's hand tightly. "Say one word," he whispered through clenched teeth. "And I will make sure you lose everything." That night, He didn't beat her. He starved her. 3 days. No food. No money. No words. Punishment without bruises. On the 3rd night, Mara fainted. Hunger. Fear. Liora screamed. Michael rushed her to the hospital. The nurse looked at Lyora's face. Then at the child. Then back again. Her eyes softened. "Madam," she said quietly, "are you safe at home?" Liora hesitated. "Just 1 second too long." The nurse nodded. "I understand," she whispered, and slipped a small paper into Lyora's hand. "A phone number. Hope is dangerous, but it is also stubborn." That night, as Michael slept peacefully beside her, Liora stared at the ceiling. Her body hurt. Her heart hurt more. She reached under the mattress and hid the paper inside her Bible. The same Bible he used to cage her. She whispered into the darkness, "For my daughters. I will not die quietly." What Liora did not know was this. The church was already murmuring. The witnesses were multiplying. And the altar she feared was about to become the place of his fall. The Sunday it happened, the sky was unusually quiet. Liora dressed the girls slowly. She chose long sleeves, as always. A scarf, as always. But her hands shook. Because she felt it. Something was about to happen. As they walked into church, heads turned. Not admiration. Curiosity. Whispers floated like dust. "Is it true? I heard something." "No, not Pastor Michael. Men of God are attacked the most." Liora kept her eyes forward. Michael smiled confidently, greeting everyone. But his jaw was tight. His sermons had been shorter lately. Sharper. Angrier. Mid-sermon, just as Michael raised his voice, the church doors opened. Sister Naomi stepped in. Behind her, 2 elders. And a woman Liora had never seen. The room stilled. Michael paused. "What is this interruption?" he snapped. One elder cleared his throat. "Pastor, we need to speak." After service, Michael said firmly. "No," Naomi said, her voice shaking but loud. "Now." Gasps rippled through the church. Michael laughed. "This is spiritual attack," he said smoothly. "Please sit down." Naomi didn't move. She looked straight at Liora. And nodded. The strange woman stepped forward. "I am Nurse Esther," she said calmly. "And I treated this family." Murmurs exploded. "She came to the hospital with bruises," the nurse continued. Repeatedly. Michael's face changed. Just for a second. Fear. Then rage. "This is a lie," he thundered. "Who are you people to accuse a servant of God?" Lyra's heart pounded. Her daughters clung to her dress. "Mummy," Kimi whispered. An elder turned to Liora. "Mummy Liora," he said gently. "Please, come forward." Her legs felt weak. Michael whispered fiercely. "Sit down." But for the first time in her life, she didn't obey. The church went silent as she walked. Each step felt like betrayal. Each step felt like freedom. "Is this true?" the elder asked softly. "Has your husband been hurting you?" Liora opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Years of silence don't disappear in one moment. Michael interrupted. "She is emotional. Confused. Influenced." The words stabbed deep. Her daughters watched her. Their eyes were wide. Waiting. Then Mara spoke. Small. Clear. "Daddy hits Mummy." The church gasped. Michael spun around. "Mara," he barked. The child flinched. And that flinch did what years of prayers could not. Liora broke. "Yes," Liora whispered. Then louder. "Yes." Tears streamed down her face. "He beats me," she said. "He starves me. He scares our children." She pulled back her sleeve. Bruises bloomed like dark flowers. The congregation recoiled. Michael staggered back. "This is madness," he muttered. But the mask had slipped. Another woman stood. Then another. "He counseled me to stay with my abuser. He said suffering purifies women. He told my husband to discipline me." The church erupted. Michael shouted scripture. No one listened. The elders escorted Michael down. Not gently. The pulpit stood empty. For the first time in years. Liora collapsed into a chair. Breathing. Alive. Outside, cameras appeared. News spread fast. A pastor exposed. Domestic abuse behind the altar. Michael was suspended. Investigation opened. The church doors closed for days. And Liora went home alone. That night, Pastor Michael stood in the doorway like a stranger. No collar. No Bible. No congregation to perform for. Just a man. Exposed. You think you've won? He asked softly. Liora didn't answer. She was packing. Slowly. Deliberately. Her daughters sat quietly on the bed, holding small bags. Michael laughed bitterly. You think people will believe you forever? I'll rise again. Liora looked at him. Really looked. For the first time in years. You already fell, she said calmly. I just stopped catching you. Michael stepped closer. You leave this house, he warned. You leave the ministry. The favor. The protection. Liora nodded. Yes. He raised his hand. Then froze. Because something had changed. She wasn't shrinking. She wasn't begging. She was standing. And fear feeds on submission. Michael lowered his hand. And stepped back. Power dies when witnesses appear. And courage is contagious. Liora did not leave at night. She left in the morning. Sunlight spilling across the road. A borrowed car. 2 daughters. 1 suitcase. No drama. No shouting. No prayers spoken aloud. Just footsteps. Moving away from pain. As they drove off, Mara asked softly, Mummy, where is God? Liora smiled through tears. In front of us, she replied. Walking, the investigation did not stop. More women came forward. More records surfaced. Michael's sermons were pulled down. His name was removed. The church split. Some defended him. Many left. The building stood. But the altar was empty. Because when truth enters a holy place, lies cannot stay. Liora moved into a small apartment. No pulpit. No title. Just peace. She found work sewing clothes. Her fingers shook at first. Healing is not loud, but it is steady. The girls began to laugh again. Kimi slept through the night. Mara stopped flinching. One day, a letter arrived. Michael's handwriting. Liora stared at it for a long time. Then she placed it in a drawer. Unopened. Some apologies arrived too late. Months later, Liora stood in a different church. Small. Quiet. No cameras. No shouting. The pastor spoke gently. God does not dwell in fear. Liora closed her eyes. And for the first time, she believed it. They once called him a man of God. But God was with the woman who survived him. They praised his voice. But heaven heard her silence. And when she finally spoke, the church shook. The truth rose. And a quiet woman walked away with her children and her soul intact. Because faith that demands your bruises was never holy.